Hello, welcome to this video. Emissions from war and military has not been spoken about much in the history of carbon emission in the context of climate change. Now, emission data from war is complicated and countries don't report them. Though the Paris Agreement mandate voluntary reporting of carbon emissions from countries, most of the countries don't include their military as well as war emissions. Of course, we know the kind of countries who do have massive military presence in the world and why are they not reporting or releasing this data or making them available for public. Now, recently, researchers have started computing the data from war as well as military, particularly in the context of war in Ukraine and now in Palestine. And roughly, there are global estimates that suggest that around 5% of the global emissions that we have is directly coming from wars and military. Now, if we look at supporting emissions for that, that is not included in that. Now, when we say 5% of global emissions, now that is something like the similar to or comparable to total emission of countries like India or even countries like Russia in that sense. So that is the magnitude of emissions coming from war and the military. Now, though increasingly military emissions are understood as a problem, these were not even in the agenda even at COP28, which was just concluded in Dubai last year. Now, the war in Palestine or in Gaza started in October 2023. Now, the first 2 months of the war in Gaza were greater than the annual carbon footprint of more than 20 of the world's most climate vulnerable nations. I'm speaking this based on an article published in Guardian that quote and suggest some of the newer scientific research that are coming out. Now, the cost of the first 60 days, which means 2 months of the war in Gaza, Israel's military response was equivalent to burning at least 150,000 tons of coal. Now, this is massive. Now, Palestine is, of course, one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. Now, the Palestine is already experiencing the consequences of anthropogenic climate change, such as sea level rise, drought, extreme heat waves, and already threatening water supplies and food security. Now, the environmental situation in Gaza is now catastrophic, as much of the farmland, energy, and water infrastructure has been destroyed or polluted with devastating health implications. Climate scientists were calling for better accountability to include emissions from the war and the war machinery as well as the military from around the world, but that has not happened so far in the UNFCCC processes. However, what is evident from the new research and estimate is that the military emissions are indeed much more higher than what we know. Now, a lot of the estimates that we have now, even now, do not calculate a lot of supportive emissions. Now, these are direct emissions that are available from the military. Now, of course, the war in Gaza, in Palestine, has been devastating and has been unprecedented in the history of Palestine and Israel, the settler colonial state. We have seen unprecedented suffering of Palestinians, and we have also now witnessed the unprecedented destruction of the environment. So, if none of these reasons hasn't moved us, at least let the climate change and the climate action make us demand a ceasefire now. Supporting Palestine and demanding ceasefire now is a climate action, is a call for climate justice.